Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a live tutorial on how to make a catch game in Scratch. Hi everyone. Oops, I have the thing open in another tab, so that's what was playing. But anyway, today we're going to be making a game where, I don't know if you guys have played these games before. I think there's actually one at the Capital One Cafe where they have like these huge tablets on the walls in Capital One cafes where you can like play this catch game where there's like a tree and then there's like things falling down and you have to drag the thing to catch it. Hi Dr. Renee! Hello. So anyway, I'm going to be making a tutorial on how you guys can make a catch game where things are falling and you have to like drag a basket back and forth to catch it. And this tutorial is for beginners. So literally anybody, even if you've never ever coded anything before, you can follow along. There is a link in the description to where you can go and do the coding along with me. It's scratch.mit.edu. And actually, I will put a link to it in the Facebook comments, mit.edu/create. Oops, I spelled that wrong. Okay, scratch.mit.edu/create. There we go. Oh, you sent me a DM on I'm not on Instagram, so if I didn't see that, I'm sorry because I don't like check my DMs that often. I'll check it after this live. But anyway, well, looks like 5 people are watching, so let's get started with the tutorial. I should probably put I'm not sure if I know how to do this, but I'm gonna put the link to the website in a banner so that even if someone joins in the middle of it, then you guys can still see what the link to the thing is. So I will put that up. There we go. Scratch.mit.edu/create. And then I'm going to share my screen so that you guys can see what I'm doing while I'm coding, because that is what would make sense. So here we are in Scratch. When you first start doing a Scratch project, you have just this weird looking cat here, so I'm just going to delete that. And then I think the first thing that we should do is probably get a background. I'm only going to be using things that are in... Train just went by. I'm only going to be using things that are in the Scratch library. I need to find something with like a tree or just like something like that so that I can... So there'll be like a tree that's dropping things that you need to catch. This is a tree, but it's like a real tree. That's kind of weird. I'll just use this blue sky and then I'll draw a tree. Or maybe they might have one in the library. Scratch also has this like really cool library where you can get all these things without drawing them, because I am not exactly a digital artist, so I have a hard time drawing things, so I will just get something out of the library usually. So we have an apple, and then I'm going to search and see if they have a tree. They do! Yay! Here we go. Alright, so this tree, go to the costumes tab. It's kind of small. I'm going to make it bigger. You can make things bigger in Scratch, or you can make them like in the project panel, or you can make them bigger in their actual file size. And I want this tree's leaves to like span the entire screen so that the things can fall from anywhere. The apples can fall from anywhere. That would be ideal, so then it would be a little bit harder than just trying to get it from one place. Okay, we're getting somewhere, kind of. But this, make the trunk in the middle. Oh, that's not the middle. There we go. And then I'm going to move this apple. Let me make it go to 0, 0 so I can find it. So these are x and y coordinates, and x and y, x is where it is on a horizontal axis, and y is where it is vertically. So if I change this y to like 50, it'll go up. If I change it to 0, it'll go down. So negative numbers make it go down, and positive numbers make it go farther up. So this apple will be falling from the sky, and well, not really the sky, from the tree, and then, well, we want to make sure that everyone knows it's an apple tree. So let's put some apples on the tree. So I'll just select everything, copy it, go to the tree, and then zoom out a little bit, and then paste, and put some apples on there so that it'll actually look like this is an apple tree. And then I'll just wait. I'm gonna make it that all of them that small, so I'll copy that one and paste it. You can also use the regular Control-C and Control-V commands to copy and paste these things because it's just easier. And I usually will do that instead of just like clicking the things over and over again to save some time. So anyway, this is just what our game will look like normally, and then we have this apple. Then the first thing that we're going to do to code this is we're going to need these apples to be falling. Not these apples, because those are just, they don't really do anything. But this apple needs to be able to fall. So at the start, we want the apple to start at the top all the time, but we also need it to randomly be anywhere from side to side. So it won't start randomly in a vertical axis, but it'll start at a random place horizontally because it always has to start from the top. So when the flag is clicked, which means at the beginning of the program, we want this apple to, we go to motion, this little blue thing at the top. We want this apple to go to, let's see, where is the top? The top would be a Y of like 200. We'll make the Y 200, and the X, we'll go to operators and then choose random 1 to 10. But we don't want it to be random 1 to 10 because, let's see, if we try this out, then it will only be between 1 and 10, so it's not moving very far, but it does always start at the top. And then we'll say random negative 200, let's say put 1 200, negative 200 to positive 200, and then we'll see what happens then. So now we can see that the apple is going in random places all over the top. So these are where the apples will start, but now we need them to fall. So to make them fall, we will go to motion, and then we will have it, in the regular game, we would need the apple to fall until it is caught in the basket. So you would use a repeat until function, but we don't have a basket yet. So let's see what we can make this catch in. And again, if you guys are just joining in, the link to where you can follow along is on the bottom bar. So anyway, what will we catch it in? I don't know if they have a basket in here. No. Let's see. Bucket. They don't have a bucket. Do they have a bin? There is not a bin. Of course the train just had to go by. There's not a bin. What kind of containers do they have? Let's see. Do they have a bowl? I think they have an empty bowl in here. Here we go. Let's use this bowl. Make that a bit bigger. So we want this bowl to be big enough to catch one of these apples. And also, this apple that we have here should probably be the same size as the apples that we have on the tree. So I'm gonna paste one of the apples I had from before and put that in the center instead of this one, so that it actually looks like the rest of the apples on the tree and it's not just one random very large apple. Alright, and then I think I accidentally made this bowl turn 15 degrees, so I'm just gonna click this one and make it turn back. Oh, now I'm turning the apple, not the bowl. There we go. So the bowl is back to where we want it to be. And then we have to make this bowl draggable. So to make something draggable in player mode,
I'm watching you, don't have any screen. I'm about to get your dad's phone turned on. You back in?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Hi! Okay guys, I'm back. My computer just died. Yeah. Well, okay. Well, it might have given you guys a little bit of time to follow along. I'm probably going a little bit fast, but we're gonna try to make this as slow as possible. Oh, also, I'm just gonna name this project right now. It's Untitled 4. Let's make this apple catching game. There's another train. Okay. So we have to make this basket draggable. Also, not sharing my screen. I should go and do that, because my computer just died. For those of you who are just joining, my computer died and now I'm back. There it is. Alright, so for those of you who are just coming in, so far all that I have done is I went in the project pan. I went into this character choosing thing. I got an apple, a tree, and a bowl, and then I copied and pasted the sprite of the apple onto the tree so that it looks like there's also apples on the tree, and then I got the bowl sprite out, and then this background. All of these can be found in the library, which is here, and the backdrop library. And also what we have coded so far is a way for the apple to start at a random point at the top of the screen from where it's going to fall, but it always starts at the top, but it starts at a random coordinate from side to side. So we need to make this basket draggable. Well, not a basket, it's a bowl. We need to make this draggable, so when start clicked, we go to sensing and then choose the set drag mode to draggable. And then when you go into player mode, which is full screen, and you click on the start button, this will go to a random place because we have the when start clicked for that script, and then this will be able to be dragged. And it's kind of hard to test whether it's draggable in player mode when you're still in the editor, because you're actually changing it as the editor, and this will just be where it starts instead of where the actual person is who's playing it is dragging it. So whenever you want to test if something is dragging properly or something is playing properly that needs to be moved, make sure that you go into full screen so that you can actually see how a player would be using it and not the editor. Okay, so now that we have this as draggable, we're going to go back to the apple, and then we will have it repeat changing its y coordinate by -1, which means its y coordinate will keep decreasing, which will move the sprite down until it touches this, which means you have caught it. So let's see. Here's the change y by 10. Well, let's do -5, so it's a little bit faster. Then we'll go to control, find the repeat until statement, and then put the change y by -5, and we will have it repeat until something happens. And the something that we want to happen to make it stop going down is when it touches the bowl, because that means that you've caught the apple. So let's see, repeat until touching, and then we'll click on the drop down and then do bowl. So we'll repeat changing down until it's touching its bowl, and then it'll stop doing that, but then we want the apple to do something else. So we want it to hide itself so that it looks like the apple went away. So we'll go to looks, scroll down, and then do hide. But we also want it to show at the beginning, so we'll put this show at the start of the script. So let's go into player mode and test and see how that worked. There we go. So the apple fell, it went to a random point, it fell, and then I can move the basket, and then once it touches it, it goes away. So now we have a working catch game. But do we really want this basket to be empty when the apple is caught? So let's go to the bowl costume editor, and then I have the apple in my clipboard because I copied it, and then I'll just change this to empty bowl because we're going to want multiple versions of this bowl. So let's duplicate it, and this won't be empty, this will be one apple full. Then paste this apple, and we're going to drag it into the basket. And I'll move that to the front so it looks like it's inside of it. There, and then move that down a little bit. There we go. And then we're going to make a bunch of different ones with more and more apples in them so that it looks like the apple basket is actually getting full. So it'll be kind of like an animation, but not really. I don't know why that went away. Okay, we have one apple. Then duplicate. Then we'll add another apple. Let's see, copy and paste. We'll move that back a layer so it's behind it. Then duplicate again. Let's add another apple. Copy and paste. Move that back. There we go. And then let's add a few more to the back of the basket behind those apples. Let's move that all the way to the back and then bring it forward. Wait, undo. What is happening here? Back. Oh no, it's way too far back. Let me try this again. And I'll move it back, 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 back. There we go. And then I will put one more, and then the basket will just keep collecting apples, and it won't change anymore after that. Alright, put that back there, go to the back, move it forward, and there we go, we got a basket full of apples. So to make this change once an apple is caught, then we will have it at the start. It will start with an empty basket, so switch costume to. This is in the look section, switch costume to, then click on the drop down, click on empty. Then it'll start at empty. And then whenever it, and then let's see. We're gonna need a forever loop for this. So let's go to control. We use this forever loop, which means it'll always be checking for this condition. Forever, we want it to, if it is touching an apple, if it is touching an apple, so this is in sensing. This is the same the one that we use to check if the apple is touching the basket. Then it will go to the next costume. Actually, this could probably have a lot of glitches in it, so we're going to do something else. So actually, instead of doing that, when the apple touches the bowl, instead of just having it hide after that, we're going to have it send a message to the bowl to go to its next costume. So let's see, we'll go to events, then press broadcast message 1. Let's create our own message. We'll call it fill basket. Then when the bowl receives, go to the bowl, then press when I receive fill basket, go to looks, and then bring out next costume. But let's see, if it catches it and it's actually at its last costume, then when it goes to the next costume, it's going to go back to empty, and we don't want it to go back to empty. So we're going to do an if statement. So if the cost, so let's get an equals, if the costume name of this sprite equals, what is this last one called? We're going to call this one full. If the last costume equals full, then we don't want it to go to the next costume. So let's get a not. So if the costume is not full, then it can change costumes. But if it is, then it just won't do anything. So let's see, it's in the costume full right now. So let's go into player mode and test this. When this falls, it adds the apple to the basket. But we're going to need this apple to fall a lot more times and multiple at once so that this bowl can actually get more full. So to do that, we need to create some clones. Clones, it might sound like this is kind of hard, but it actually isn't. So to make clones, at the start, we'll want just this sprite, this original sprite, to fall and get in the basket. And then after that, we want it to create a clone so that it'll do it again. And then when it starts as a clone, we want to duplicate this script, right click and duplicate. If you don't have a right clicking thing, just put 2 fingers down at once and it'll do the same thing as right clicking. Then we're going to put that here. So when it's a clone, it will go to a random spot at the top. Then it will fall until it touches the bowl. Then it will broadcast fill basket and hide. Then it will create another clone of itself. So let's see how this works. So all of the clones that are created are going to follow this script. And at this point, this is going to keep cycling forever because every clone is going to create another clone based on the end of this script. So let's just test this out to see how it's going to work. So it looks like it's catching them, and it's working really well. There we go. And now the basket is full, so it's not going to add anymore. Great. So now we have it catching all of the apples, and more apples are coming at random spots. But to make this a little bit harder, we can do some more coding, and we're going to use some variables. So you can stop now, or you can make it so that there are points and there are different levels and the difficulty gets harder. And this is actually still pretty easy, so if you guys want to keep going, it's going to be pretty fun to add this part of it. So to do this, we want it to also add more of these at once. So we don't want this to go on forever, so we're going to take off the clone's ability to clone itself again. So let's put that away. So when it's a clone, it's just going to fall until it reaches the basket. Then, that empty space in the basket is really bothering me. I'm going to make another I'm going to make another one with another space in it because I got to fill that space because it doesn't look even. So let's not name this one full. Let's name it 1 apple 5 because that's what the other ones are named. And then let's have this one actually called full so that our statement still works. And then we'll paste another one and put it over here. Then move that to the back, forward. There we go. Now the basket is full. Okay. Sorry, that was bothering me. But anyway. Okay, so now we have the basket. And we need these apples to be able to come multiple at a time. So let's start by we'll make this a perpetual game, and it'll just get harder and harder, and you can see how many points that you get. And we can also and then you can just see if you get to a high score. And then we also have to make sure that if this apple gets to the bottom and you don't catch it, what will happen? So let's see what happens now if an apple goes to the bottom and it doesn't see, it just sits there. And we don't want any apples to just sit there at the bottom. So when an apple, so we want it to sit there, we don't want it to sit there at the bottom, so what should we do? Okay, so if we don't want the apple to sit there at the bottom, we will have it, let's see, we'll have it repeat until touching bowl or touching the bottom of the screen. So we need to add an or. So let's go to operators, add or. And then right now it's y is at -85. So it will repeat going down until the y is until it's touching the bowl, or the y is at -185. So the y coordinate is a variable that you can find in the motion place. So we'll go to the y position, and if its y position equals -185, then we'll have it disappear. This should work. So we can also check and see if an if works. If you take it out and click on it, then it should be true. And we should also make this true for clones as well as the original. So we'll duplicate that and replace it. There we go. And we only want it to fill the basket if they have it, because at this point, if it's touching the bowl or it's at the bottom, it will fill the basket. And if they didn't catch it, it shouldn't fill the basket. So we're going to need to add some ifs there. We'll get 2 ifs, and then we'll just duplicate this. So if it's touching, so after that, the program will have to figure out if it's touching the bowl, then do this, and if it's touching the bottom of the screen, do this. So we'll want it to hide and fill the basket if it's touching the bowl, and if it reaches the bottom, what should it do? Let's make it play a negative sound. So we'll go to the library. Maybe there's like a splat sound like that, like the apple is hitting the ground. Splat. They don't have one. Like maybe like a burst. No, they don't have one. Let's see these effects. Do they have one? They have a boing. No. Let's make it. Oops. Oh, these are. Is there a squish? No. They're just like a negative, just like a ding or something. Maybe I can change the sound of that or something, make it deeper. Maybe I'll just select this all and softer, louder. Yeah, that's fine for now. Anyway, so when it gets to the bottom, we'll have it hide and play that water drop sound. So you go to sounds and click play sound until done. Then go looks and make it hide. And we also need to make sure that this is the same for our regular one. So we're going to duplicate this and add it back over there. All right, so now we know, and now we have it that when it hits the bottom of the screen, it just plays a noise and it goes away. But we have to make some points. So let's go to variables. And if you guys don't already know, a variable is something that can be changed. It can be a word or it can be a number. And in our case, it's going to be a number. They have a variable for us here. And just to illustrate what variables are like, I can show you what these buttons do. So this variable that they have automatically here is called my variable. And if we set the variable to 10, then if I click on my variable, and then I run the script, if I click on my variable, it says 10. And if I change the variable by 1, let's click on that and run it, then it now is 11 because it added 1. We can also change it by -1, and that will subtract something from it. So now it's back at 10 again. And if I click it again, it's at 9. And then this is just showing the variable and hiding the variable. So you can see that over here in the project panel. So we're going to make this our own variable. We'll just rename it so that we don't have an extra variable that we don't need. And we'll name this score. So right now the score says 9, but at the beginning we want the score to be 0. So under this, when start clicked, we're going to have set score to 0. And every time you catch an apple, we want the score to increase. So when it's touching the bowl, it'll fill the basket and hide, and then change the score by 1. But if you drop the apple, we'll have it change by -1, which will subtract from it. So we have now, when they catch it, they get 1 more point, and when they drop it, they lose a point. The player loses a point. We also want it to show the variable score at the beginning. So, oh, that's hide. Let me take that off. We want it to be able so that they can see their score up in the top corner. So if we test our program here, let's add this create back so that we can see the apple falling a couple times. Put this creative clone of myself back again. And then let's see. So we click on the start button. The basket's empty. Catch an apple, and it adds. It should be, oh, forgot to put the create a clone back on the beginning of the original one. There we go. So now my score just went back down to 4. And my score is continuing to go up. And now we're going to want to have some apples falling simultaneously. So if we want these apples to fall simultaneously, then we're going to want the original one to actually make the clones before the other clone is finished running its script. So let's press this red stop button at the top so that we can start coding again. So we'll go back to the apple, and then instead of just creating a clone of itself once and all of the clones clone themselves, but only once they're done doing their thing, we're going to take this off, and then we're going to make a loop. So we go to control, and this is going to be in a forever loop since this is a perpetual game. And then it'll create a clone of itself every how many seconds? So how many seconds does it take for this apple to reach the bottom? 1, 2, 3. So about 3 seconds. So we'll want it to, oh no. I know when that happened. So that happened because I had creating a clone of itself in a forever loop all the time. So it'll just keep creating clones until like ever because it's forever loop. So we're just going to detach this for a while. So at first, so we're going to want it to create a clone only every once in a while. So let's say at the beginning, it'll create a clone every 5 seconds. but then we want that amount of time that it takes for it to create another clone to increase the longer you play the game. So we're going to create another variable called difficulty. So the difficulty variable will change every time a clone is created, and it will. So this concept is a little bit more complicated, but I'll explain it as we're going. So instead of having it wait 5 seconds, we'll have it wait an amount that is a variable, so that the amount of time that it waits before it creates another clone is changing all the time. And we want the time that it takes for another clone to be created to get smaller and smaller, making the game harder and harder. And the less time that they have, the more will be coming out at the same time. So this variable at the beginning, we will set it to, so this will be outside the forever loop so that it doesn't keep setting. At the beginning, we'll set the difficulty to 5, and then every time this loop is run, the difficulty will be changed by negative 0.1. So I think when about 50 when you catch 50 apples, then it will be really, really fast. But hopefully no one's gonna be playing the game that long. But this will just make it progressively harder. So let's say, what the computer will be thinking right now is the difficulty is 5, so it waits 5 seconds in the beginning before it creates another clone. Then once it gets to the end, it changes the difficulty by negative 0.1. So then the difficulty will be 4.9. So then the difficulty so then the time that it waits will get shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. So let's see how fast this is. So let's hide the difficulty because we don't want them to be able to see that. And we'll go into player mode. So that's 1. Where are the rest of them? Oh, I know why. Because we didn't attach this to the beginning. So once you finish copying that script, make sure that you attach it back to this, and then it will run this script every time it creates a clone. Okay, now let's test this again. So that's a 1. And then 5 seconds. Here's another one. Each time it's going to get shorter by 0.1 seconds. And by the time we catch 10 apples, it's instead of 5 seconds, it's going to come down every 4 seconds, then it'll be 3 seconds, and then 2 seconds. And it'll just keep getting faster and faster. And once it exceeds 3 seconds, more than one apple will be coming down at a time. So it's working. Yay. And if you want to start out harder, you can just make it start at 4 instead of 5, or you can make it start at 3 instead of 5. Or anywhere. As you can see, the apples are starting to come down faster because I've done it 15 times. Yep, here we go. So these are starting to come down faster and faster. So now we've done it 20 times, so it should be at 3 seconds. Yep, it's getting really fast now. Well, not that fast, but hopefully it'll keep getting harder. Yep, it's getting faster and faster. So if I let that drop, see, now we have 2 that are coming at the same time. And then they're deleting themselves. And then there's some over here, some over there. Yep, they're coming faster. Oh my gosh. These are, oh wow. Wow. Well, we don't want it to get that fast. So here's what we can do. We can have it just like we did with the apple costume to not change after it gets past a certain point. So once it gets to like its fastest level, we want it to stay there. So let's see where like the hardest place would be that we want it to stop. So let's set the difficulty to 1. Wait. Okay, so we're going to take this thing that changes the difficulty out, and then we'll set the difficulty to 1. Wait, oh, that's change the difficulty by 1. We'll set the difficulty to 1, and then play it. It's going a little bit slower now probably because I'm doing a live and trying to do this at the same time. But the difficulty when it's at 1 is not very hard. Oh no, the difficulty is at 5. Oh, I forgot to take the set difficulty to 5 off. But let's see. When the difficulty is, make this 1, then let's see how hard that is. Okay, so this is pretty hard. We're going to want it to stop once it gets to here. Because this is like pretty difficult. Alright, so let's go back to the apple. We're going to press the stop button. We'll go back to the apple, and we'll only have it change if the difficulty is more than 1, so that once it gets to 1, it will stop changing while it's running this loop. So let's get an if statement, and we'll go to operators, and we'll get a more than symbol. We'll put a 1 here, and then I'll just duplicate this difficulty variable so I don't have to go looking for it. And then, so if the difficulty is more than 1, then we will have it change the difficulty until it gets to 1. Change difficulty by negative 0.1. And then once it gets to that, it will stop. And then let's put it back at 5. I just put 5, and then I said 4. I don't know why I did that. Anyway, all right, so now we have a perpetual game, and people will be able to see their score. And since people will be playing this game to see if they can get the highest score, the game has to end at some point. So we can say that once you drop an apple 10 times, the game is over. So let's see, we're going to need something to track how many times they drop an apple. So we'll make a variable called times the apple has been dropped. And when you name your variables, you're going to want them to be very literal so that you can so that it's easier to go through your programs and find what went wrong. And when I first started coding using variables, I would just name it something random and hope I would remember. Like I would name it just like red or puppies or something like that, and it didn't really have anything to do with what I was coding. So it would kind of confuse me when I was trying to figure out what went wrong. So it's easier to just have it very literal and what you're trying to track. So in this case, we're trying to track the times the apple has been dropped, and I named it times the apple has been dropped. So here, this y position equals negative 185. That means when it reaches the bottom, we want it to not only change the score by -1 and drop your score, we want it to change the times that the apple has been dropped by 1. So add 1 to the amount of times the apple has been dropped. And we also have to declare our variables at the beginning of your program. So now that we have this new variable, we will set it at the beginning to 0. So now we need to be able to know when we need something to figure out when the times the apple has been dropped reaches 10. So when it reaches 10, we will make a forever loop, which means it is always checking. We'll start clicked forever. And then if, actually let's not do an if, let's do wait until. So then actually we don't need a forever loop, we use wait until, because then it'll just do nothing until the variable, let's get an equals, and then the variable times the apple has been dropped. Wait until times the apple has been dropped equals 10, and then we need to do game over. So to do a game over, you want all of the apples to hide. You want the tree to be gone, you want the bowl to be gone, you want everything to be gone. So for this, we can do a broadcasted message that all of the sprites in this thing get. So, and we also want the apples to stop falling. So we will broadcast game over, create a new message called game over. Then then we'll have the bowl receive it. When you receive game over, you want it to hide. Where's the hide? Okay, so in looks, put in hide. So when it receives game over, hide, and then I'm just going to drag this script into the tree thing down here so that it will duplicate it into here. So if you go into the tree, then you can see when game over, hide, and then we also want to make sure that it shows at the beginning. So we'll go to when flag clicked, show. And then we also need this script for the apple, for the bowl. And then the apples, so when it broadcasts game over, we want it to do this only after everything that has received this message is done. So we'll do broadcast and wait. So a broadcast and wait means that it doesn't continue with the rest of its script until everything that has received the message has run all of its scripts. So when it broadcasts game over and wait, once both the tree and the bowl are hidden, it will delete all of its clones. So we'll go to control, scroll down to the bottom, and we'll have it delete this clone. Actually, instead of having it hide at the bottom, we'll have it delete the clone, because then it'll be definitely hidden. So at that point, all of the clones will be deleted. We want it to stop all of the scripts as you can see, this one doesn't have anything else on it because that means that all of these scripts will stop running, the forever loops will stop running, everything will stop. That's why we want to wait until all of the other things that are receiving the game over message are done before we stop everything. We want it to hide this sprite. We want it to hide the apples. Everything will hide, and then let's make another backdrop called for the game over message. And then we should probably have like a sound effect too. Okay, so I have a black screen, and then we'll put some white text in this pixely font. If we make this text white, turn saturation down and brightness up to make white, and then we'll put game over in all caps. Boom. Game over. And then to explain why the game is over for the player, you dropped 10 apples. To click the flag to try again. Try again. And then I kind of want this to be centered, so I'm just going to put some spaces in there because they don't have a centered text thing, which is kind of annoying that they don't have that. But that's okay. Still love Scratch. It's fine. There we go. All right. So that's the game over screen. And we're going to name this game over. And at the beginning, we will have it switch the backdrop to blue sky because that's where it starts. And then when it receives game over, then switch the backdrop to game over. So let's see what happens when we drop 10 apples. So I'm just going to let them fall. So now we have a negative score, which is not very good. But we're going to let 10 apples fall and then see what happens. Hopefully this will work and there will be no glitches. And then we will be all done. And you can also add a beginning screen where it'll just say like, catch the apples, and then the play button so that they're like ready before things start falling. And I'll show you guys how to make that. But if you don't want to do that, that's fine. And I'm thinking there's something else that you can do to just enhance this game. And I think I'll probably do another live showing you how else you can enhance this game. Let's see. I can probably do it tomorrow. So make sure that you guys subscribe because I'll probably be going live again soon showing you how you can add to this game and actually make more things like levels and things that you can do with the apples. You can have a whole farm. You can make apple pies with these apples. I'm not sure exactly yet what I want to do with it, but once it's done, once I figure it out, I will go live again and show you guys how you can do it. So it looks like it worked, and we got all the way to the game over. All right, so to make a beginning screen, we're gonna have to make another backdrop and a button. Let's create a backdrop. We'll draw one. And then make a square. Let's make the background red because this is an apple catching game. We'll make it like pale red, which is technically pink, but we're calling it pale red because we're fancy. And then we'll call it apple catching. Such a creative name. Here we go. Apple catching. And then we'll make a play button. So a play button, we'll just draw a square with a white filling and a let's make a white filling and then a black background. We could make it like a red background, but like dark red. Where is the red? There. Dark red background. And then here we have our little square. And then we'll take some text and write play. And then let's turn this the same color as our border. And you can't really see the border that well, so let's make the border thicker. There we go, and then let's move a little bit more to the middle. Actually, so there's like a centered thing you can make sure everything is actually centered, and that's where it is. So then make this in the middle actually. So then to make this button clickable, we'll go to events. When this sprite is clicked, switch backdrop to the daylight thing, the bright day with the wonderful apple tree where apples are falling and we have to catch them. Oh, let's switch costume. Switch backdrop to, it's called backdrop 1 because we didn't name it. Let's name it. We'll name our backdrop start screen. There we go. Then now that is named start screen, we'll go back to our play button. Let's name this play button. Gotta have everything named and labeled so that it's easy to find things. So that is named. So when that's clicked, it'll go to start screen, and then we want at the beginning it to switch to this. We want this to switch to the start screen at the beginning, and then it will switch it to the bright day when it's clicked. Blue sky. That's what it's called, blue sky. And then to make sure that these are hidden at the beginning and shown when they reach the next screen, then we will make this. We'll make these scripts. We'll make this script start not at the beginning, but when the backdrop switches to the blue sky. So go to events and get when backdrop switches to blue sky. Go here, and then at the beginning we want it to hide, and then when it switches to blue sky it will show. Because we don't want an apple to be on the home screen, and we don't want a tree to be on the home screen, so I'm just dragging these into the other ones to duplicate them. And as you can see in here, you can see them, and then we have two conflicting ones where it says when start clicked hide and when start clicked show. So we'll replace the one that says show with when backdrop switches to blue sky. So when it goes to where you would be actually playing the game. So let's replace this again one more time, and then we'll test it make sure everything is in working order. Oh no. What is happening? So when start clicked, oh no. I forgot to change this. When start clicked, switch backdrop to start screen. There we go. Perfect. Play. Oh, important thing. When it switches to the blue sky, we also want it to hide itself. It's always important that you test things so that you know that everything is working. Play. Perfect. And now everything else is working the same way that it worked before. And people can try and see if they can get the highest score. And then one other cool thing that you can do is make the score a cloud variable. So a cloud variable is a variable that is saved on the cloud. So the highest score ever can be recorded. But I'm actually going to save that for later so that you guys will have something interesting to come back to. But thank you guys for watching, and you guys did a great job following the tutorial. I hope you had a good time. I had a good time. And also make sure that you save your work. It is so frustrating when you save your work, when you don't save your work and all of your stuff is lost. Make sure that you save your work. And it's like 6 o'clock where I am at 6 o'clock. So I'm gonna log off. You guys can go show your parents what you made, show your family and friends what you made. It's obviously gonna be really cool, and I had a really fun time coding with you guys. Make sure that you guys like this video and subscribe so that you don't miss the add-ons that we're going to do next time. And I'll see you soon. Bye! Thank you for watching.